Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our latest English touring operas in conversation with series. My name is Bradley Travis. If you've been joining, you might have seen me every week, but my name is Bradley Travis, and I am the Associate Artist in Learning and Participation here at English Touring Opera. And today, you've got me. James isn't here today, so it's a sort of cats away, the mice will play sort of situation. And what we're going to do is that I thought it'd be a great opportunity for us to have a lovely conversation about learning and participation, or music outreach, why it's important, what ETO do, what other companies do. And I've got three fantastic artists here with me who have all worked with English Touring Opera. And they are great artists in all that they do, but I think they are amazing at the learning and participation, or outreach stuff. So we have Abigail Kelly, who is a wonderful soprano. Good evening, Abigail.
Hi.
We've got fantastic baritone Maciek O'Shea. Hi, Maciek.
Hello, everyone.
And we've got wonderful composer Omar Shahryar. Hi, Omar.
Hello. Hi. Hi, everyone.
It's so great that you three are here. Now, for the benefit of everyone who doesn't really know what English Touring Opera do in learning and participation, I thought I'd just run through what we would normally do in normal times, and then give you a little bit of a taster of what we've been doing in these rather different times. So I'm just going to share my screen and show you some images of some fantastic projects that we've done in the past. So here we are. This is one of our streams of work that we do, which is our operas for Key Stage 2 audiences. So they're curriculum-linked shows, got loads of stuff in them that's linked to the curriculum. And you can see here, the eagle-eyed among you will see Abigail Kelly and Maciek O'Shea in the show like The Space Dog, which was about the first dog in space. The next one, this is another of our Key Stage 2 operas, so that's primary schools. This is Shackleton's Cat, which was about Shackleton's journey. And here's a more recent show that we did last year called Paradise Planet, and this was about global warming and about climate change. And there's lovely Maciek again in that show, and our lovely puppet. Now, this is the next stream of operas or things that we do. This is our opera for young people with special needs. So what we do in these projects is that we work with young people with special needs to create a show that is really for and about them. This was our show Waxwings, which was a lovely opera we did last year as well. And this was this year's offering, which Omar composed. And there's a bit of an action shot of us in our dress rehearsal, and that was, the opera was called The Extraordinary Adventures of You and Me. So long that, excuse the fact it's me, but this is one of our shows we do. We do these residencies in schools, any sorts of schools really, primary schools, secondary schools, special schools, where we go in over a number of weeks and we work with the children to make operas. So we get them to write the lyrics, get them to write the words, and then we perform the shows with them. So this was a show about Charles Dickens, which we did last year. And, oh, actually 2 years ago. And this is a show in, which was called Buzz on the Moon, which was about Buzz Aldrin and moon myths, which we did last year. Going through more of our projects, this is an image representing our lovely projects we do called Turtle Song, which is in association with Turtle Key Arts. And this is where we make song cycles with people living with dementia. So we work with them over a 10-week period where we meet and they come in and we work to create lyrics and music and create a whole series of songs which then we'll perform together to their loved ones. And then this represents some workshops that we do in schools. So this was our workshops on the Silver Lake, where we went into high schools, mainly up in the Northeast, and we worked, this is a lovely baritone, Jan Sapinski, who was covering the role of Severin. We look at the plot of the opera, and then we work through all of the themes, and then the young people make their own songs, and then by the end of the day, with the practitioners, we put together a sort of mini opera version that they can do. And I think this is a crucial thing actually in our work with young people, particularly when relating to the main stage operas, is that I think it's really important that the young people are given ownership of the pieces and that they understand where they're coming from. So when they come and see the operas, they really feel like they're a part of it. That's another one image from that. And then the final image I've got here, we are due to make our first opera for babies or for children under 2, which Abigail is going to be in. And what we're going to do actually, because we can't perform it in theatres this autumn, we're going to record it and make an animation. And then next year we'll hope to tour it into venues. So that's an awful lot from me. But I thought it would just be a really good idea for everyone to kind of see the stuff that we do and get a sense of it. But in lockdown, in this situation, we've been doing some rather different things. We've done some singing lessons for adults and for children. We've done some online workshops for young people with special needs. And then we've been doing some projects in Hammersmith, particularly with people living with dementia, which Maciek has been doing with their Dementia Action Alliance. And then we've got a few other things in the melting pot. But I think that's quite enough of me just talking to you, but I hope it gives you a sense of the breadth of stuff that we do and that Abigail and Maciek and Omar are involved with. But Abigail, could you tell me what your first sort of experience of music outreach was?
The first music outreach project that I did was actually an English touring opera project, and it was Key Stage 2. It was called In the Belly of the Horse, and it was about the Trojans and the Spartans and the horse. And it was such a wonderful introduction into the world of opera written specifically for children. We toured it, a full-on tour of just that performance, and went into 2 schools every single day, Monday to Friday, and it was very, very much treated as as part of a tour, very, very equal to what we perform on the main stage as well. So that was my first experience.
Yeah, I think it's really good to note, just with what you're saying there, that the performers that do our education operas, learning and participation operas, actually we all perform in the main stage as well. We actually sort of, having this term main stage kind of isn't quite right, because I think it's all the main stage and it's just all work, it's all art for different age groups. But I do get into a bit of trouble when I call them adult operas on the main stage, because people think I'm talking about something completely different. But, maybe they'd like that as well. Anyway, but Maciek, what was your first experience of sort of music outreach?
Yeah, it was actually I think the prequel to Abigails, so also composed by Rachel Leach. It was called Voithia, and it was about the story of Icarus and the Minotaur. So it was a wonderful world, the Greek mythology. And again, it was a proper tour. The kids loved it. They'd been sent materials. They were singing songs, we had a wonderful set that we toured around. Actually, this one was also, there were active musicians as well, so we were sort of performing instruments and performing the music as well, which was fun to do as well. So the kids loved it. And it was a real, for me, an eye-opener to what can be achieved. And as you said, it was the artistic and production standards were extremely high, and it was a huge pleasure. And it sort of set the ball rolling for me, sort of personally, to carry on in that kind of work. Yeah,
and I think it's really good that we mentioned that both of those pieces were written by Tim Yealand, who was my predecessor in this role at ETO, and I think a year or 2 before Tim arrived, James Conway arrived at ETO and looked at the education department and thought, okay, this is good, but actually, as James has done with most things at ETO, says it's good, but we can do better, and let's do something that no one else is doing. So he sort of headhunted Tim, who was already doing some amazing work, who started off as an opera singer and then was doing workshops and things. And Tim came in, and James has actually told me this, that he sort of said to Tim, I want you to be as free as you can possibly allow yourself to be, and do just the best work possible that is going to be sort of really relevant and just so rewarding for all of the participants. You know, we try and work through the whole kind of span of ages. So I think, you know, Tim has been a huge influence, certainly on me, I think on Abigail and Maciek, and maybe Omar as well, that he set up this program, which then I've been, you know, felt very fortunate to be kind of continuing and hopefully developing. Omar, same question to you. What was your first experience?
In terms of outreach, actually, it was with Tim back in 2008.
There's a theme here. There's definitely a theme.
There's something that binds us. Yeah, it was a piece called The Story of O, and I was thrilled to be the main lead, even though it was completely unexpected. Very much part of Tim's devising process, where suddenly one random person, you're the main character now. Oh, okay, fine, all right, I'll be the main character then. And that was in Wolverhampton, in an unforgettable collaboration between me, a kind of assisting composer, director at the time, children with profound learning disabilities, and I think it was an Iranian musician as well as some mainstream primary school kids, and it was amazing, most amazing to see how Tim, he never had to ask for quiet. He was like the Pied Piper. He said, shall we do this now? And all the kids went, yeah! Shall we do this now? Yeah! Shall we be quiet now? And everything he did, everything he suggested, they did. It was magic. And I thought, I've never seen such a love between an audience and a kind of conduit of let's do this now. So that was an absolutely inspiring and formative experience. But I've just finished my PhD. So I've been my PhD is in composing opera for young people, and in the course of my research, I was looking at where I actually got this desire to do collaborative participatory opera from. Yeah. And it was actually from my mum. When I was 7 years old, our class entered a songwriting competition, and we had to work in pairs to write a song. And me and my friend Tomokaz, who was from Japan, and me, who was fresh into the country from Saudi Arabia, long story, we wrote this song and we won. And it was only about 20 years later where I realized that basically my mum wrote that song. She said, how about you use a recurring refrain? What kind of melody would you like? Oh, okay, I see you like the Star Trek anthem. Let's use that and let's put some chords. And basically she facilitated the entire song, and we did win. But I think it would be fair to say that it was the damage was done in that she enabled us to feel like composers at the age of 7, and it was only a matter of chance and good chance that my school encouraged music and things, and then the rest is history, I guess. I could say.
I think it's so important to give young people, actually to give anybody, the power and to make them feel like they are the one who is helping to create this piece, or give them ownership. That's the same way that we work in the secondary schools with the workshops. When the young people feel ownership over the piece, I think then when we invite them to come and see it on the main stage, on the larger stages, that they sort of think, I learned that bit, or, oh, we composed a song that was a bit different to this, but I can see why Purcell or Weil did that, which I think is really amazing. Abigail, so you worked with Tim on In the Belly of the Horse, and then you've done a few projects with ETO since. Speaking about forming, doing stuff with young people, we actually devised an opera together, didn't we, called This Is My Bed, with young people with special needs. It was in a school in Wimbledon. I'm not leading you to say it was in that experience, but what has been your favorite experience working in one of English touring opera's shows?
I think actually one of my favorite experiences was when I got to play the part of Betty Coleman, who was the first African-American pilot. And we worked with 3 schools in the Vauxhall area of London, and they had it was a huge, again, I can't stress how much production-wise these projects with young people and these projects with people that we do outreach with is they are not just, oh, we'll just throw this together and we'll throw that and that together. They are so looked after and so cherished as much as all of the rest of the performances that we do. So yeah, bringing that story to life was an absolute highlight for me, mainly because of working with young people who I think probably saw a bit of themselves in me and went, oh wow, you do that, you sing this, then therefore I can sing this too. This is great. I'm feeling that. And we talk about ownership, and Omar, you said about if you enable and facilitate people to feel like they are composers, then yeah, they're probably going to then go down that path and become a composer. If you allow people to feel like they are the main character in a scene, or if they have a line that's really special, even though it's 2 words, it's a really, really significant line, you give them that opportunity, then you unleash a beast, essentially. And I feel like we need more of these young people from this early age to come into this journey with us in opera, especially. I'm always going on about how I fear sometimes that it's slightly, it's not dying out, but I feel like there needs to be some kind of a mix up and a jumble up and a change. And I feel like those young people are the jumble up and the change that we need to inject a little bit more life into our into opera, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I think giving young people that really positive early experience is what we're all about. We can't promise that everybody's going to come to the opera, particularly as young people, but what we can promise is that their first experience is really strong and really positive, and that they feel like they're part of it. Abigail, I know you've got to go shortly, so I just want to move along with you a little bit and just ask how have you had to, because I know you've been doing some workshops and things in this current situation, how have you had to innovate? And also following on from that, how do you think we might learn and improve ourselves from what we've had to do in lockdown?
Learning and improving ourselves. I think that entering this world of digital consumption, where I'm guilty of it. I spend about 4 minutes watching something on YouTube and I'm like, oh, next thing. And then it's another 4 minutes and like, oh, next thing. And I feel like if I'm, an adult female and have now developed a really awful attention span, I wonder what the attention span of young people today actually is, when we have this swipe culture, this ultimately really fast consumed culture, and I feel like maybe to change and to tap into that, rather than kind of say, hey, you sit down, come and listen to this thing for 2.5 hours. We do something more like, hey, I've got a story to tell you. I'm going to tell it in the medium of opera, and it's going to take 4 minutes, 5 minutes max. You're absolutely going to love it. You're going to connect with it. And then you can swipe and do something else. But have fun, connect with it, enjoy, and then maybe come back another time. We'll do another 5 minutes. Maybe we'll make it 7 minutes. I think for me, learning to be engaging immediately is something that I definitely have felt like I'm keying into. So that's definitely how we can learn and grow.
Yeah, I think because it's kind of, I always say to people, you will have no idea how much energy it takes to perform in a school hall, but it's almost distilled when we're online, because then that sort of punch, that energy that you need to grab the attention actually of anybody, but of children particularly, I think it really is heightened.
Yeah, and what I think as well that I'm finding the more I do, you know, online singing lessons and online workshops, if you don't directly have somebody giving you that energy back and that feedback, it does feel a little bit like throwing a whole load of energy out into a void. Whereas before, you would immediately get a bounce back from a kid in the front row laughing, or someone in the back yawning because they're not engaged. Even those sorts of interplays with the audience that you're missing, you're sitting there looking, staring at something, going, is this reaching? Am I working? Is this, what am I doing? Is this right? So it's kind of getting out of your head as a performer and a facilitator as well, and just kind of trusting that what you're giving is the right thing.
Yeah, I felt just the same in the online workshops for the young people with special needs. I start there, my whole setup, and I've got my parrot puppet and I've got my sloth puppet, and then I'm like, hi everyone. It's very difficult to know because you don't get any of the feedback. Abigail, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Have a lovely evening.
I will do. Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Bye. Omar, so what you made this great piece for us this year called The Extraordinary Adventures of You and Me. Firstly, sort of how did you go about making that piece?
So I generally speaking, when I compose operas, I take my inspiration from the story really strongly. I think that's slightly, I don't know if that's a modern thing, because I'm a kind of 90s Disney generation. But the story really has to be very, very clear and strong for me. And the story that Ruth Mariner wrote was great. However, even before that, we had this amazing and very original process. I think that's why Ruth and I were so interested in this project, where the elements involved were so different, so sometimes conflicting. The kind of question of how you resolve the fact that it's got to be participatory, but you've also got to have a performance where it's not participatory, but you've got to have flexibility so that it could be participatory. But if you don't want it to be participatory, then you can have a switch where you can say in the middle of the performance, we're not going to participate, we're just going to carry on. And all of these different kind of elements.
We don't make it easy for you.
This was a really tricky show, but that was the really fun thing, to have a show that could be everything, but is in a simpler way as possible. So we spent quite a lot of time just jigsaw puzzle wise, trying to think of how we fit flexibility and continuity together. And I think we found it. I mean, massive credit to you and to Joe and the other performers, because you were the ones who actually had to dance whilst singing, whilst constructing the set out of your own costume, over the audience, whilst they're interacting with it. Like, your performance was the virtuosic one. And actually, I think Maciek's as well from previous years. You performers, I don't know how you do it. I'm glad that I'm not you. No offense.
There's certainly a lot going on, because in these operas, particularly when we perform, with and for young people with special needs, there's a kind of a lot going on, and you don't really know any time what you're going to be faced with. But they can also be the most rewarding projects, and they're really incredible to be a part of. We actually made Extraordinary Adventures of You and Me with a college in Cheltenham called the National Star College. So we did workshops, didn't we, before, Omar, where you sort of got a lot of the material from them. How was that? How was sort of, I know you say piecing everything together was quite tricky, but how was particularly working with those young people?
Oh, working with young people, that group of young people was a joy, just a daily joy. It actually was so much of a joy that all of us involved, myself, Ruth, and Naomi, the violinist, we were all thinking, why don't we just do this all the time? This is like, this this is amazing. You're so present all the time, and the feedback that you're getting from the kids, from the young people, is just of constant amazement and joy and laughs. And we had a lot of fun inventing various scenarios and the music around it, like the counting things as they go past the window on the bus, driving the bus, traveling through time, opening an interdimensional portal. You know, just what more would you like to do in your day job, basically?
Yeah. I know. Well, Maciek, you've had lots of chance to do this sort of thing, haven't you? Because like Abigail, you've done a few of our projects. What's been your favourite project or favourite moment in one of our education projects?
Yeah, that's right, Bradley. I mean, it's honestly impossible to kind of rank the experiences. I mean, I can give you a few highlights, but yeah, can I just echo my huge debt to Tim Yealand and what he's produced at ETO and wherever the organisation's been lucky to have him. So he really is a huge inspiration. And it was actually one of his projects called Different, which was an opera devised for young people with special educational needs. And it was also that part of the process for putting this together was working with young adults on the autism spectrum. So they helped us write the piece and put it together. And then we toured it around, and it was a wacky story. I remember Tim getting huge pleasure out of Tim and Ruth, the designer, wonderful lady, of getting us. We needed some form of shelters, and they ended up being sort of tent teepees. And the story was fantastic. It was twins, Polish twins, and I'm half Polish. And Jan, who you mentioned before, we were twins, and there was a lady, and it was really touching on themes that were kind of important, what are important to people, to young people with special educational needs, in terms of, you know, sort of potential agoraphobia or fear of small places, or just helping them, you know, engage with sort of daily life. And it involved puppies being born and then twins being born. So the story was great, but it was a real framework for us to have fun with it, with the audience, and try and reach as many people as possible, and have, you know, you might have one moment with somebody, and the feedback you get from the carers, the teachers at the end, when they say, you know, you really touched that person. You might not have noticed it then. You'll get a lot of, you know, you might get a lot of good feedback, you know, good, very discernible, quick feedback from the audience, and that's great. But as you know yourself, Bradley, and Omar as well, you're absolutely right. When you trying to devise a piece that can be so multi-layered and be able just to sort of stand alone, and be performed, you know, to anybody, and whatever their, you know, whatever their needs are. Is pretty incredible. But that was a wonderful piece, and I was fortunate enough to take it to Luxembourg and you know, bring it to an international audience. So that was a big highlight, just to reach other people. And just goes to show that you don't need a huge amount of language. It's about how you engage, and body language and tone. So yeah, Different was definitely a highlight for me in recent years. But there are so many highlights. Like the Space Dog, that had many incarnations over the years. Again, we were lucky enough to take it abroad. The show won an award. You know, that was a Tim and Russell Hepplewhite combination. So, I mean, for me, being able to work with wonderful directors and composers is fantastic. Also, to be doing a piece where you're working with the writers there and then. You know, you're not giving a piece and you know, having to kind of, you know, work your way around it, which is amazing. You know, how people can bring to life operas, you know, that just exist in a score, but to be working with people that that are actually creating it there and then. We can change stuff. We can, you know, it's nice to be in a collaborative process where your input is also valued as well. You know, I think often, you know, as artists, as singer actors, you know, we have some input, but you know, it's the director's choice ultimately what they want to do. I think, you know, I certainly have felt over the years, you know, working with Tim and other directors, that, you know, if you have a good idea, you know, suggested at the right moment, maybe with a chocolate biscuit in their hands, it might go down quite well, you know.
Yeah, it's just that thing of your view is valid at the right time.
Yes.
So it's really, yeah. I think you're totally right. We have almost unique opportunity that all of the operas that we do are brand new or are revivals of things that were done not very long ago. And I think having that opportunity to be flexible right up until the point of going on tour, because you really want to make sure the operas are absolutely nailed on, spot on for those audiences. And then if you've got people who are willing to change and willing to sort of pivot, then it can be really, really amazing. Maciek, you've been doing something, I'm going to make you blush now. As part of our projects at the moment, we've been working with the Hammersmith Dementia Action Alliance, and Maciek's done 3 afternoons, haven't you? And I'm going to embarrass you now by showing a little video clip of Maciek in action, which I think you'll agree is pretty wonderful. Might be a bit quiet to start off with. So that was Maciek out in Hammersmith singing O Sole Mio, which he did. Oh, did I not? You might, if you didn't hear that, I'm sorry. I might have needed to share the computer sound. Omar just told me. But that was Maciek singing O Sole Mio, which he then sang It's Now or Never, sort of changing with the same tune. But that was an example of innovating in kind of a low-tech way, wasn't it, Maciek? What was your experience like going singing people who were still isolated in Hammersmith?
Oh, it was incredible. I mean, it really was. Yeah, the Hammersmith and Fulham Dementia Action Alliance and Peggy Coles, who is leading that. You know, she did a wonderful job working with the Elgin Close Resource Centre. So this is a centre where the people that we were singing to would ordinarily get driven to and you know, spend the day there and have activities and do music and crafts and have lunch, but obviously they haven't been able to do that, so we came to them. So we had a whole list of clients, as it were, that we needed to see, and just so that, for example, that was Nazareth House, which I suppose actually wasn't slightly different from what I just said, but we had a great ready-made audience there that we performed to. Ordinarily, we'd be going, knocking on someone's door, they knew we were coming, they would wait at the door, and we would sing from the streets. I mean, it was incredible. You know, people were so happy to hear the music, to join in, and several cases we had people coming out for the first time out of their homes, you know, since lockdown, basically, and you know, it was amazing to witness that, just them, you know, breathing a sort of fresh air and dancing and, you know, singing, just feeling our vibe. I mean, it was very, very rewarding to sing to people and to try and get them to feel the joy of live music. Yeah, the reactions are really, really genuine, and yeah, it was just a lovely thing to do.
Yeah, you did a fantastic thing. You really did. Omar, this is sort of what I asked Abigail before, but how have you sort of been innovating in lockdown, and how do you think that we can learn from this, and how can we grow?
Oh, the big questions. So in terms of innovation, it's to be frank, it's been a very well, I think it's easy to be frank. It's been a very difficult period for many artists. It's there are great limitations to how much we can innovate with online work, and for me, a sense personally, and many of us, I think, share this to some degree, that you can do things online. I guess, sorry, mirroring what was said earlier. but nothing replaces live music, I guess, as Maciek you were saying. And so the innovation for me has been almost philosophical, to take this opportunity to think, what am I? What am I doing? What do I want to do? And how do I want to do it? And the big, having just finished a PhD, I'm in a kind of analytical frame of mind. So the big kind of thing for me is reflecting on what is the role of an independent artist, of all of us independent artists, and where do I want to focus on? Do I want to be focusing on getting in somewhere, like into an opera company or into an opera house, or do I want to be getting into the community and into a relation with my public, whoever my public are? And I just want to say how amazed and thrilled that I am that just seeing the faces as well on the kind of group, the gallery view of this Zoom. I'm seeing, English touring opera's wonderful, beautiful, handsome and delightful audience. Well, most of you anyway. Some of them are black squares, but that says everything for me. Like having the relationship between a company and an audience isn't necessarily just like a business. It's not like you buy your ticket and you go and it's done. It's not like going to a cinema in that sense. It's much more personal because of the live aspect. And having this time to think and reflect, and also I've moved country, so I'm saying bonjour from Paris right now. The opportunity for me looking forward is to really try to let go of trying to prove anything to anyone and just get into my neighborhood and make music here, and let that be my richness, let that be my fame, and let that be my success, rather than trying to actually aspire for this kind of more ephemeral stuff that really disappears very quickly and is not of lasting worth. I say that it's very difficult because, of course, like my ego would love to get massive big commissions from all kinds of places, but I think it's a real opportunity for the whole of the art sector and society in general to go, okay, should we just look at people now? Should we focus on people instead of trying to prove something? I think that's the simplest way of saying that I'm looking to innovate, is by changing my attitude rather than necessarily doing much else different.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of what you're saying is kind of the way that we can continue to make opera, or at least classical music, accessible. That if we do that and we continue to really engage with our audience, we've said this a couple of times on these in conversations, that what English touring opera echo totally what you just said, Omar, that our audience are our most important asset. And I would spread that to not only our audience that comes to the theatres to see the John Passion or Così fan tutte or Giulio Cesare, but our audience are also those children in the primary schools and in the secondary schools and in the special schools, and those who come and do Turtle Song with us. They are part of our community. And I think that the more of that we can continue to do, the richer our whole sort of output will be. Has anyone, I'm going to just offer it up to the floor. Has anyone got any questions? It'd be lovely to hear from you. I must mention that watching on YouTube, because she has commented, is the wonderful mezzo-soprano Gaynor Keeble. And Gaynor and I actually do some workshops, some Gilbert and Sullivan workshops for English touring operas. So, and hopefully, fingers crossed, we're going to be doing some online Gilbert and Sullivan workshops in the autumn, funded by the D'Oyly Carte. So hello to Gaynor. So, well, no one's got any questions yet. Maciek, talk to me about being in a primary school that is packed, and particularly when we've got those participatory songs. What is that energy like, and how much energy do you need to do that?
Bradley, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like going to a primary school, because primary schools are joyous places. everywhere is there's a positive vibe in a primary school. And it's so easy to feed into it, especially at 8:30 in the morning, after you've done a show the night before. You need that energy, and you go in, and the kids, from the moment you walk in, who's this guy? You've come here to do the opera, you know. And then as soon as you say, oh, have you learned any songs? Yeah, we've learned them all, you know. So they've been prepared well. Even the ones that haven't been prepared in advance, that's not a problem. We can prepare them. Honestly, the kids, they're such a real audience, and you're so close to them, and you can have so much fun. I kid you not, it is so much fun doing one of these shows, you know, in a school, whatever school it is, because if you're not having fun, they're not going to have any fun. So, you know, you simply have to. Everybody has to buy into it. You just have to go in there. You just have to have, you know, as much fun as you can, you know, and you can. You know, the shows, as you say, are really nailed on. You know, with the emotions are real. You know, but you do have to break the fourth wall, and I particularly enjoy that. You know, especially when you're doing the participatory songs, you have to make them join you, and they have to become the characters as well. And
they're part of the show, aren't they? They're part of the
totally part of the show. Yeah, so they get in characters, and you have to get. You know, often it involves you choosing people to come up and be in it. As you know yourself, Bradley, and that is fun as well, because there are people that put their hand up every time you ask for volunteers. You know, they'll get their turn, but then you reach out to the people who maybe are a little bit shy. You look to guidance from the teachers. So you're not just doing the same show every time, which you might do on the larger stage in the evening. You know, because you can't see your audience. You're feeling it. You're feeling the emotion. But in a primary school, you're constantly, you're doing the show, but in the back of your mind, you're thinking, okay, what bit of fun can I have next? Who do I need to engage? These people aren't really with it, so it's quite it's quite intense, but it is hugely rewarding. And we come in, we build the set, and we pack the set away, so there's so much opportunity to chat to kids and to teachers. And that is, I think, also a huge part of the role is hopefully they've had a lot of fun during the show, but in terms of sort of inspiring them, you can really do a lot of that inspirational, hopefully, giving the inspiration before and after. It's very much, the immersive experience is not just a show, it's going in and being, outsiders, performers into the schools and up and down the country. And it's amazing, in London, I think, growing up, if you're lucky, you get a lot of music, but we go up and down the country and the teachers say, you guys are our highlight of the term. We don't get any live music, so that is hugely rewarding to hear that, that we're having a huge impact, that and they remember us. And as you know, Brad, I'm sure you're finding out that they say, where do we sign? We want you again, and having done a bit of this work over the years, it's great to go back to the same schools and to see that continuity.
Exactly.
There were year sixes last year that say, I saw you 4 years ago, and that's great.
It's really great when we get that continuity. We've got some lovely questions here, actually. Julie has asked about the commissioning process and how we fund them. Well, it's really good to talk about this, actually. The English Touring Opera as an organization decide on the kind of operas that we're going to do. So it's usually this one for primary school and for special needs schools. And so we commission, but what we do is they're totally funded by trusts and by very generous individual donors. So none of our Arts Council grant goes towards the learning and participation. It's just sort of, that's separately funded, if you like. And what we do, it's kind of open. We're a little bit restricted by the venues that we go to on the tour. So then we go to those schools around those venues, but it's not really restricted because we go all around the country with that tour. But anybody can get in touch, any school can get in touch. They pay a small fee, it's heavily subsidized of what the actual shows cost. Johnny's asked me a question here about touring, being a touring learning and participation program, and about the engagement in the different areas of the country. And actually Roger said something about how do we choose the areas. So it's a bit similar. It's certainly easier to deliver some larger scale projects in certain areas, and it's kind of all to do with engagement of individual teachers. So if you get a teacher that is absolutely mad on music and really is desperate for you to go, then we can sort of say, we can make it happen and we can do a project. We did some great projects, big community projects in Wolverhampton, and that was because there were amazing people in the theatre who really wanted it to happen, and down in Truro in Cornwall, and similarly, that was amazing sort of collaborators. We have had funding in the past to really give very particular attention to certain areas, so that then we would get in touch with the music hubs, which were a great thing that the Arts Council created to sort of give us those spider web sort of legs out to the different schools and out to the different practitioners in those areas. But you're right that it's sometimes easier to do a big project in one area, and in another area we might sort of be getting in touch with schools, and the schools are saying, oh no, we don't have time for you, and we sort of say, but we've got this amazing show. So I think it's a constant sort of challenge, but one that we do pretty well to overcome. Omar,
can I just on kind of bouncing off of what you're saying about individual teachers, and also slightly in response to Julie's question about schools commissioning ETO. I don't know if I'm misinterpreting your question, Julie, but I thought if you wanted to commission a composer to write an opera for your school, then ETO could certainly point you in various directions. And I think that also tying into a little bit to question from Nina about sustainable audiences and sustainability and making it fun, but also making it really worthwhile for audiences. Basically, the more operas that go on, the better the experience for everyone, the more that audiences can enjoy, the more that kids can enjoy. For example, I really struggle when I do a project in one place and I never go there again. It's quite problematic, because then that kind of empowering effect only happens once, and you can't guarantee that it'll never happen again, and it can even be blocked, if you don't keep it going. Which is why English doing operas consistent kind of returning to areas is I think a really hopeful model for allowing people to continue to experience, especially young people, through their development, an empowering process, so it doesn't just happen once in a lifetime. But I think that it's also possible I really hope to encourage as many people to experience both music outreach as children, as teenagers, adults, young adults, and older adults, older young adults, because there just needs to be more everywhere. And so I don't think again, I'm being a little bit sneaky. You can ask ETO to commission an opera, but you can also ask ETO to just point you in the direction of any local artist who can collaborate with you on any kind of scale, whether it's on an English touring opera scale, or whether it's on a year 6 end of school, end of primary school, one day, made in a day show. The more that happens, the better, I think, in my opinion. That's my manifesto from the PhD expressed. I think. Yeah,
it's absolutely right. That the more that we can make creative work with anybody and everybody, the better. And Nina, yes, it was a challenge to make a piece about climate change, of course. And Maciek and I actually were double cast. We did half the shows each. And I do think we managed it. There was a joyousness to it. There were some really dark bits, but the amazing thing about children is that they can cope. Children can cope with difficult themes. When Laika dies in Laika the Space Dog, the children can cope, and they ask the questions, did the dog die? And we say, yes, the dog died. But, because that's the story and you've got to tell the truth. What we really tried to do was make the main thing about Paradise Planet was about recycling and about how we could make that difference and making that a fun thing. And I was always amazed. We had this very powerful moment. There's an opera by Rebecca Hambry and Alex Groves, and we had this big, what they called a jellyfish ballet. And at the end of the ballet, the music came up to such a head, and then rubbish was just thrown across the stage and we all collapsed, and then there was silence. It was in this big like wave sound effect, and there was silence. And then we stood up and we sort of broke the fourth wall and we talked about exactly what was happening in the world. And we said, and who wants to come and clean it up with us? Who wants to help? And all the hands just went straight up. And I was thinking, gosh, they never get kids to tidy up like this. But it was amazing that they just always wanted to do it. And it was so heartwarming. And we got feedback that the children were going home and they were saying, Mum, Dad, we need to recycle more. We need to do more of this because we've heard about this in the opera at school. And I think what we try to do at ETO is that we try and bring some quite challenging subjects in to the operas that we do. We're in the process of developing an opera which has a sort of working title of Back into the World, which is coming out of lockdown and how the world might be different for Key Stage 1 audiences, so slightly younger. But these children who might have had a huge percentage of their life in this situation, you know, about friendship, about working together, about joy. And so we hope that that will make it into schools next year. I think that we're going to have to wrap up there, but thank you so much, Maciek. It's really lovely to see you.
Thank you.
And thank you, Omar, for your insights. It's really great to be here. And thank you to all of you for joining.
Yeah, thank you.
I think I've got Catherine Bench here, who is our development officer, who's just going to say a quick hello to some of our supporters. But before Catherine talks, next week we have a really great conversation about two seminal nights of ETO. One of them, the Olivier Award-winning King Priam, and the other double bill we're going to talk about is the Puccini double bill of Il Tabarro and Giannischicchi. And with James Conway next week and myself will be Clarissa Meek and Charn Rochford to talk about those. They were actually in both evenings of entertainment. Catherine, are you there? Oh, she is.
She's there, but she's muted.
Oh, she's muted.
Can you hear me?
There she is. Hi, Catherine.
Thank you so much, Bradley, and also Maciek, Omar and Abigail, who's gone early, for your time and sharing your experiences and expertise with us. The outreach work that we do really is some of our favourite work that ETO does. For those who I haven't met on this Zoom, I'm Catherine Bench and I work in the development department here at ETO. And as part of my role, I manage our supporter scheme and hold a close relationship with our supporters. And it's so wonderful to see so many of ETO supporters here today. I don't want to embarrass you, but thank you for your continued generosity during this challenging time. Your support really is vital for us to continue touring opera around the country and to us facilitating all the outreach projects that we have spoken about today. I just quickly want to let you know about a campaign which we're running, which will make our next children's opera, which Bradley just mentioned, Back into the World, possible. So we're looking for individuals to commit to pledging financial support now so that we are able to deliver the project. If you'd like to know more about how this campaign will work or how you can get involved with it, please don't hesitate to get in contact with me on my email. I'd be absolutely delighted to hear from you and to discuss it further. Thank you, Bradley.
Thank you so much, Catherine, and thank you to all of you. Have a lovely evening. It's really great to see you every week. Keep safe. Bye-bye.